In this video, I'm going to break down something that I don't think a whole lot of people are talking about in the entrepreneurial world, especially in the coaching world, which is creativity. You are a creator. You're creating content, you're creating community, you're creating all kinds of stuff, but you need to understand it, dissect it, and be able to control it. That's what this video will help you do.
I've become much more creative over the last few years in terms of the way my creativity has shifted. I've become a lot more poetic. I wrote and performed a one-man play a few years back. I produced and starred in a movie, and I've done a few poetic TEDx talks. And so my creativity has shifted. I've always been a creator of content, but my creativity has shifted in a way that it's just like a different chapter of my creativity. And I had in my outline here to finish with a poem that I wrote, but I'm actually going to start with it. And this poem came to me in a moment where I was really beating myself up. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. Some of us actually do that. I was really going in on myself one day, and I just noticed what I was doing. You know, we talk a lot about self-punishment and negative head talk and a lot of these things that are common conversations in the personal development world. But I think a lot of people don't really understand how to do anything about it. You know, like we understand that we shouldn't beat ourselves up, but we don't understand how to stop. And a lot of times we don't understand how to stop because we don't know how we started. And we don't really have a frame for it. We don't really know what's going on. So anyway, I was just paying attention to how I was talking to myself one day, and I got this really clear image of these two entities. And that's what produced the catalyst and the essence of this poem. It's called The Soul's Stand. My inner enemy will be the early end of me, unless and until I become aware of thee. So you keep causing my fears and tears to flare up. So I think it's time for me and you to square up. And I don't need to fight with you, for there is no might in you. There is only light in you that comes from me. And all that I now need to do is look inside to see me in you, see through the middle of your eyes, and there I recognize your cries, which are not yours, but mine. I see that you're not mad at me, and truth be told, at you, not I, for inside of you, there lies me, for inside of you, there I lie, just lying there, lying there. I lie in there and tell lies from there. I lie in there and yell cries from there. In there, I am lying while lying. That is my sin, my only sin. Pretending to be broken, I lie from within. Pretending to be less, I lie to my soul. Pretending to need more, I lie, I'm unwhole. So I lie and I lie and I lie to myself, pretending to need some protection. But I cry and I cry and I cry to myself, resending my need for connection. So I cry and I cry and I cry in here. I have holes that need filled from outside, but I lie and I lie and I lie in here. I am whole. This blood spilled from inside. Those cries die now because I'll just bleed more. That lie dies now because I don't need more. Only my heart beating, only my love seeding, only my strength growing, only my spirit knowing, for I am complete as I be. I find my feet and I rise as me. My palms this floor never again will see. Only my souls, only my soul. It's time to take a stand for me. It's time to stake the grand in me. It's time to see the gifts in me. It's time to make the shifts in me. It's time to clean this stain on me. It's time to heal this pain in me. It's time to love these years on me. It's time to love these fears in me. Because never before has there been a me. And never again will there ever be. I have a dish that's mine to bring. I have a song that's mine to sing. I don't need their permission. I'll stop looking for that line. I wasn't put here for their mission. I was only created for mine. So please take my hand, your hand, and see that force against force is you fighting me. So face to face, never again can we be. But side by side forever, we set this soul free. The souls stand. So I hope that poem lands for you. And it puts a context of the inner conflict that we have. The vision that I got was actually pretty gruesome. It was me torturing and beating myself inside this, like it was like a circular solitary confinement brick sort of room with a single slit in it. And as I was seeing the room, I just saw the little slit, but I couldn't see inside the room until I got closer. And then when I put my eyes in the slit, then I saw me on the floor, naked, face down. And then I saw me beating me on the floor. We're so brutal to ourselves. But what I've learned to realize is that it really wasn't me beating me on the floor. It was a not me beating me on the floor. And that not me had just taken over. And that not me was a projection of all my protections. And it was a collection of all the things that I had learned to protect me, that I wasn't good enough, that people didn't want to hear what I had to say. All of these, you're not enough. The collection of all of it is what created the Punisher inside. So I think what we really need to realize is that we have these two entities inside of us, and only one of them is real. I mean, they're both real in the sense that we're feeling them, but only one of them is true. Only one of them is sacred. Only one of them has been there since our creation. The other one was created by programming. And our programming not only tortures and punishes us, but it suppresses us. It keeps us hidden. It holds us back. And it convinces us that if we allow ourselves to be seen, that they won't like us, that they won't be safe, that we won't get approval, that we're going to be abandoned. It convinces us to stay inside, which is abandonment. It's just that we self-abandon before we can be others abandoned. And then we prostitute ourselves thinking that if I show up as the person that you won't abandon, then you'll love me. But that's not love, you guys. That's just the not abandonment version of somebody who's not you. And what gets suppressed is what the world needs. What gets suppressed is this creativity inside of us. So I want to talk for a little bit about creativity. We need to understand what creativity really is in the context of this conversation that we're all here for. And in the current environment of our planet, of our society, creativity is what we need. It's actually the only thing that can put things back together when things fall apart. That's a creative process. We need creativity to understand systems, to make systems changes rather than keep painting the symptoms or keep putting band-aids over the symptoms. Anything that's new is a creative endeavor. So if you want to build something new, or if you want to uncover and get back to something old, but you can experience it as something new, that's all creativity. But it is a very rare, unique animal and entity and essence and concept that most of us don't understand, because the rigid mind can't value creativity, because creativity is a threat to the rigid mind. Creativity is a threat to our ego. So it's easier to suppress it with force than to look at it and embrace it and have the very essence of creativity threaten the essence of rigidity that our ego stands upon. I hope that is as clear coming out of me as it is inside of me. These two entities are opposing forces. They can absolutely work together, but if they're threatened by each other, it's really just the rigidity that's threatened by the creativity, but then the creativity tries to use rigidity to nurture itself. The creativity tries to use the rules of the intellect to be safe. And creativity doesn't give a shit about safety. Safety isn't a part of creativity. Evolution is a part of creativity. It's about just the beingness. That's what creativity really is. Now, those of you that want to build a business, business is creation. Business is the creating of a community and a product and a process and a relationship, regardless of what the product is. You can take a cleaning solution and build a business around something like that, and that's a creative process, even if the product is a commodity. So if you don't understand the creativity of entrepreneurship, you can't win that creative process. But then when the product is also creative, now it's much more challenging. And coaching as a product is creative. There is no intellectual rigid rules that can produce transformation in humans. So if you want to be a transformational coach, the product is created. And then if you want to be that transformational coach, you are creative. So you can't build a creation business with a creation product and a creator unless you understand all of this. And at the core of that, you have to have the identity of a creator. But here's the good news. You already have it. It's just covered up. We all have the identity of a creator. We've just been programmed out of it. But you cannot build a creative business with a creative product and a creator in the middle of it as a chaser. Chasing what other people tell you to do. That doesn't mean that there aren't lessons that you can learn from other people. Of course there are. But what most people are looking for is for other people to tell them exactly what to do, because that's what our brains want. You tell me what to do, I do it, and then I get something. That's the chasing mentality. That's the employee mentality. You can't do that in a creative business with a creative product and a creator at the core of it. You must be an opportunity creator. You must be able to see opportunities. You must be able to create opportunities for yourself and for other people, because we're dealing with 3 levels here, you guys. When the creator is creating a product of creativity and trying to create a business built upon a creator creating, it's exponentially creative and complex. It's not just 3 levels, it's like 50 levels, because they're all stacking on top of each other and fueling each other. It becomes extremely complex. But I want you to understand that complex is not the same as complicated. When the ego and the intellect sees something complex, the ego thinks it's complicated, which means it's difficult, which means give me the rules so that I can apply them to this difficult situation. If you apply difficult rules to something that's complex but not complicated, you're going to make everything more challenging. So let me explain what complex is. Complex means constantly moving. That's what complex is. Complicated means really difficult, hard to understand, to figure out, to solve. The creative conundrum that we have here, which creates a lot of the creative constipation that we are living in, is that there is extreme complexity based on all these moving creative parts. There's extreme complexity because we're dealing with humans who never stop changing. There are tons of moving parts in the building of a business in general. Now you throw social media on top of it, you throw algorithms on top of it, you throw all the digital components on top of it, how fast technology is changing, how fast the humans are changing because of the technology, which is programming the change in humans. It's extremely and exponentially complex because everything is moving. However, each moving part is simple. So you have a collision of a ton of simple moving parts. So it's extreme complexity built upon extreme simplicity. That's the conundrum. And if you want to build a meaningful business that fulfills you, not just succeeds for you and creates the money and the financial success that you want, which is absolutely possible, but if you want it to be fulfilling and you want it to be meaningful, that means you want to help humans transform their human lives, you've got to figure this out. The extreme complexity built upon extreme simplicity. That's your challenge. And it has to be you. You don't have to figure it out alone. In fact, you cannot figure it out alone. But you and your lessons have to be at the core of the business plan. You have to do the creating. You can learn how to navigate this extremely complex world based on extreme simplicity while unlocking your creativity and have all of these things start to morph and form and become more and more aligned, which is not a flip of a switch, but it's possible. But you have to be in it. If you're not in it, somebody else is going to build a box and stuff you in it. And you might think that just because a lot of people are buying that box, you're happy. You will not be. You cannot be. And I would rather nobody buy the box that's inauthentic to you than a bunch of people. And then you have to make up for all of that misalignment. So if you believe that you are here for some kind of purpose, that there's something embedded in your DNA, in your lessons that you've learned, if you believe that you have value to contribute to society, to your seekers, to your family, and if you care about people having better lives, those are the three main ingredients for a creative entrepreneur. Somebody who is creating the outcomes, creating the product. If you believe in all of those things, then there's a puzzle out there that's missing your unique piece, or at least potentially missing the most authentic expression of that piece. It's like the world is writing a poem and it needs your verse to complete the poem. It doesn't need the verse above yours, and it doesn't need the verse 3 below yours. It doesn't need somebody else to step in and write your verse for you. It doesn't need somebody else to grab your hand and you tell them what to write, and then they write it in their handwriting. The world needs your verse written in your handwriting from your creative pain. Whatever that looks like, whatever intensity that looks like. You've got lessons. People are dying to hear those lessons, sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively. And that means you've got to create with your creativity. You've got to create opportunities. You've got to create content. You've got to create relationships. You've got to create a new path. You've got to create something beyond the comfort zone, which is not a creative place. It's a safe place. It's not a creative place. It's not a fulfilling place. It's a satisfying place, but it's not a fulfilling place. There's no joy in satisfaction. There's no joy in safety. There's no happiness in safety. There's only protection in safety and satisfaction. And you didn't come here to be protected from life. You came here to experience life. And your lessons that you've learned along the way will help other people experience life. When you step into this creator identity and mentality and you start relearning a lot of the abilities that are just suppressed under so much of the protection, there's an infinite amount of creativity. The thing is, creativity never stops. Never stops. Once we tap into creativity, it never stops. This doesn't mean that you need to become a poet. This doesn't mean that you need to do one-man shows. This doesn't mean that you need to create like anybody else. It doesn't mean that you even necessarily need to do articles or videos, but you have a unique creativity inside of you. And what we need is for that to come out. We don't need it to look like anybody else's, but we need it for that to come out. So if you're learning from any entity, whether it's a single person, a book, an institution that's trying to box your creativity into something safe and simple and easy and quick, run. Because that will never, it will never bring the full you out. The main belief that this school is built upon is that your unique creativity has value, and there are people waiting for it, and there are people that will pay for it. And you can have a business built upon your creativity that's aligned, that brings you meaning and delivers impact. But we've been programmed the exact opposite. So this is really about the embodiment of unlearning the protective programming. So the creative spirit inside of us, our soul, our song that is just dying to be sung by you. You can't hire somebody else to sing your song and have you be fulfilled. This is an embodiment process because the programming has become embodied for us. That's one of the reasons why our heads can understand certain concepts, but our bodies shut us down. It's because the process has to be understood and then unlearned. And this creative animal that we're talking about, it's a vulnerable one because it's you, because it's your opportunity for doing something meaningful that makes you feel good, that is your unique perspective. And you've been programmed either explicitly or implicitly your whole life, just like I have, just like Michelle has, just like everybody who's a human, minus maybe a few, have been programmed that your unique voice is not valuable. In fact, you've been punished for your unique, authentic visibility at some point in the past. So your taking off of the layers is not an inviting one, but it's a necessary one, and it's possible. I'm going to end with this thought. Your journey ahead of you is not going somewhere. It's not about going somewhere you haven't been. The journey ahead of you is returning somewhere that you once left. Without doing that, a meaningful, impactful, fulfilling business is simply not possible. Not in this space, not in this world, not with your unique voice.
Now, if you like this video, check out that one right there. If you're into more real, honest discussion, we're talking about what it really takes to be successful as a coach in today's world. We're so afraid of being out of control. But if we don't have our current circumstances disrupted, then there's no opportunity to build anything beyond our current